I believe in the sweat of love and in the fire of truth. Asada Shakur Zichrona Livracha in affirmation. Ki karov elecha hadavar me'od bepicha ubilvavecha la'asoto. No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to observe it. Dvarim 30:14. I want to share a fantasy with you. Have you ever been walking around in New York and seen the Chabad teens? They're helping men lay tefillin and they're giving women Shabbos candles. They walk up to you and ask, "Are you Jewish?" Suddenly, if you answer yes, you're in a compact of sorts, a chance for them to help you perform a mitzvah. You learn the blessing, you say it word for word, and suddenly you are be-phylacteried. Mazel tov. The implications of this sudden mitzvah is so profound. It comes from a statement in the Gemara that says that if all Jews lit Shabbat candles for 2 Shabbatot in a row, the Mashiach would come. You're laughing, but I'm about to talk about that for the next 30 minutes, so focus up. The idea that liberation, that the Messianic age is just so around the corner, all it's waiting for is for us to do mitzvot. So as such, these shluchim, these emissaries of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, are on a mission to get as many Jews doing as many mitzvot as they can. And I mean, same, like, hello. It feels like a very simple formula to get liberation into the world. Do good in it, which is exactly what Victoria said earlier. So it's not just as wholesome, obviously, as racking up mitzvah points by bringing people in. Their kiruv, their outreach, is a little more complicated than that, because the only people who get asked if they are Jewish look like white Ashkenazi cisgender Jews, missing out on so many. Myself having had to hustle to be allowed to wear tefillin when I was 13 in my supposedly egalitarian community growing up, tefillin is a mitzvah I wish more people would ask me if I had done that day. So here's my fantasy. I set up a block down from where the shluchim are stationed. And of course, we would schmooze before, I'd say a little hello. I would ask every single person who walks by me who at all seems interested. When you're like out in the world and you can tell someone else is Jewish and you want them to know that you're Jewish, that look is what I would be looking for. And I would say, "Are you Jewish? Have you put on tefillin today? Would you light Shabbat candles this Friday at this time?" Catching the rest of us Jews so that we can all partake in these mitzvot. Where Chabad gets this right, is urgency. Urgency. We must work in unison and with generosity and expeditiously to create the conditions where peace will happen. It is a resistance to individualistic spiritual practice that aims just to improve ourselves and our spiritual lives in a moment of collective dissolution. Our spiritual practice must be concerned with collective liberation, which means that our individual practice must exist to serve our collective redemption. And that means sometimes it's going to be annoying. It's going to be painful. It's going to require you to stretch outside of your comfort zone of tolerance. You're going to have to do some that you don't want to do. But we must work in unison and with generosity to create these conditions where peace will happen, where liberation will come. And we must want that more than momentary comfort or self-importance. The idea of individual stake and individual practice is just anathema to how Jewish technology works. Friends, this regime is working to keep us fractured and overwhelmed and confused and competitive. It wants us to be afraid every day. It wants to control the cortisol that rushes through our bodies, that narrows our field of vision, that gives us over to immobilizing despair and makes us think that in our pain, we are solitary. And the solutions will only come from acting from our own self-interest. Solitarily, friends. You are hurting right now because your government has designed it for you to hurt. Because modernity has tricked you into thinking that you don't exist in a vast ecosystem, that you breathe in what trees breathe out, that water makes up 60% of your body and it didn't also pass through the sky and the soil and the sea and your neighbor. This regime wants you to forget that your actions are inspired, compelled, and necessitated by the lives of others. But we can resist those lies. Sada Shakur Zichrona Livracha taught, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We don't actually have to look very far to remember that we are duty-bound, obligated to each other. So obviously, I hear you asking the next obvious question, Rabbi, what is a Jewish understanding of chiyuv, of obligation? Well, I'll tell you, the blessings that we say over mitzvot are Asher Kishana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, which is classically translated as who sanctifies us with your commandments and commands us. So I would say we understand chiyuv to mean a lot. Our community is not affiliated with a denomination. We wouldn't be a part of any club that would have us as a member, I guess. We use a Reform prayer book for Shabbat that was donated to us by Bolton Street Shul here in Baltimore. We use the Reconstructionist hefty guy, High Holiday Machzor, donated to us by Kol Tzedek Synagogue in Philadelphia. I am a graduate of the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, member of the RRA, and thereby bound by their ethics. Our Sefer Torah is on loan from conservative shul Adath Jeshurun in Philadelphia. Sometimes you'll see someone crying into a Koran Orthodox prayer book in the back of the sanctuary. We do not do Musaf on Shabbat, which is the additional service that is added in honor of Shabbat and Chagim, but we do Musaf on the high holidays. Hinenu affirms the Jewishness of patrilineal Jews and joyfully celebrates multi-faith marriages. We live stream all of our services with great joy and mixed results. We use amplification on Shabbat because we prioritize accessibility. Our food is all vegetarian, cooked in a shared non-kosher kitchen. We celebrate Tu B'Av. Who celebrates Tu B'Av? And observances of Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur are filled with deep meaning. Hello. You could say that we have something of an ad hoc relationship to halacha, to Jewish law. So then, to what do we feel a sense of chiyuv? Halacha is the unfolding process of outlining Jewish practice and behavior in accordance with our understanding of what God and our ancestors, perhaps more importantly, would have us understand is a life full of mitzvot, of following the commandments. Reconstructionism is often referred to as post-halachic, a term coined by Rabbi Jack Cohen, the student of Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructionist ideology. As my teacher, Dr. Elsie Stern, famously taught, Judaism is what Jews do. And so regardless of if any action, any Jewish action is halachic or not, it's a Jewish choice, because it's a choice made by a Jew. The majority of our community, as far as I can understand, is not Shomer Shabbos in a halachic way, might not keep kashrut, but clearly feels compelled to stay committed to the Jewish project. For some of you, halacha has no bearing on your decision-making process, how you keep Jewish time, how you relate to mitzvot. For some of you, you make decisions, Jewish decisions based on what your family has done, what your community has done, and what your contemporary life allows or dictates. For some of you, halacha offers you sense in a senseless world, is the heartbeat of your days, and you work to integrate your practice into a heterodox congregation that might not prioritize what you do. And for some of you, you are non-halachic but feel guilty about it. A unique and important third category. Halakha, Jewish law, is a system that dictates individual behavior with an understanding of how we fit into the collective. So in a sermon that I never thought I was going to give, I'm here to make an argument for the halachic life. I know, you can laugh, that's funny. But by which I mean more specifically and perhaps more accurately to my own practice, a life filled with obligation. I do not necessarily mean a life that counts the minutes between milk and meat, although I wouldn't tell you not to if it brings meaning to your days, but a life that understands that the decisions that we make in small ways are part of a larger ecosystem that we wish to care for and to be part of. And so today I want to make an argument for you that the committing to a halachic life, by which I would like to mean a life of rigor and of seriousness, removes us from getting caught up in the myth of our individuality and continues to recenter our focus on the collective. Yes, you can daven 3 times a day, but without others to make a minyan, a quorum of 10, you can't recite the Baruch Hu or Kedusha or Kaddish. You cannot fully bless or sanctify or remember. So this Yom Kippur, calling on all of us to accept upon ourselves the yoke of heaven, Ol Malchut Shamayim. You can decide if you're going to do it or not, but this is my challenge for you. Rabbi Shai Held said recently, the very notion of commandment is a summons to a different world. To be commanded to do something is to be invited into a task of building a world. And Grace Liebag, Zichrona Livracha, said, transform ourselves to transform the world. Being called to mitzvot, feeling a sense of obligation, of duty, it transforms us and thereby transforms our world. I want to call on us to feel obligated, to consent to obligation. It's seen as a negative, as a pejorative, a sense of doing something that you don't want to do. And perhaps that's the case. Who wants to be yoked to and pull a giant cart behind you? But we can consent to doing things that are hard and derive pleasure and meaning and access to our most high values from it. And so let us accept upon ourselves this feeling of obligation. Just experiment with it. Join me in the next year, collect some data, see what changes. I want to bring you to a daf, to a page in the Gemara that we've already spent time on together years ago with the story of the fox and the fish. And in that story, the punchline asks, why would we abandon our Jewishness in a time that empire is promising us safety on dry land out of the embrace of the waters of Torah and Jewish time? That's not the end of the sermon, but it really could be. The discussion then picks back up on the same page on the Shema. And it says, we learned in our Mishnah the explanation of the verse, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. Nicely done. This is in Devarim 6:5. And so Rabbi Akiva, who told us the story of the fox and the fish, comes back and he explains what this means. He says that you should love God even if God takes your soul. But then as the conversation continues, and Rabbi Akiva is alive in a time of violent empire and persecution, the time comes for Rabbi Akiva's execution. He is one of the 10 Kiddushim, the holy ones that we honor in just a couple of minutes in the Yom Kippur martyrology. And though he is to be executed, it's also time to say the Shema. And so as they rake iron combs over his skin, Rabbi Akiva recites the Shema, accepting upon himself Ol Malchut Shamayim, the sake of heaven, the yoke of heaven. His students, which I have never thought of it till now, but imagine this horror happening and your students standing there, not being able to save you. But a teacher is always a teacher, and a student is always a student, and so they ask him a question, and he answers it. And this is his dignity. They say, "Our teacher, even now as you suffer, you recite the Shema?" And he answers, "All my days I have been troubled by the verse, with all your soul," meaning even if God takes your soul. "I said to myself, when will the opportunity be afforded to me to fulfill this verse? Now that it has been afforded me, shall I not fulfill it?" He prolonged his uttering of the word echad, one, echad, until his soul left his body and he uttered his final word, one. A voice descended from heaven, the bat kol, and said, "Happy are you, Rabbi Akiva, that your soul left your body as you uttered echad." Now, don't get me wrong, Judaism would prefer you to live. Judaism would prefer you to live than die for our tradition. And that's why the martyrology can be so confusing for us. Judaism would prefer for you to live, to do mitzvot, and to do good. And so please do not let the death of Rabbi Akiva suggest anything else. And Rabbi Akiva's death shows us that our goal should be to try to fulfill as many mitzvot as we can individually in order to fulfill God and our ancestors' will and to bring down a better world into this world and hope that a liberated messianic world comes because of our work in this world. To be chayav, to those of you who are in that special third category around halakha, to be chayav on something is not a free-floating sense of obligation and failure, ideally. You have fulfilled an obligation because you have done a tangible thing. You have prayed, you heard the Megillah be read, you lit Shabbat candles. And for non-halachic Jews, I offer that this is our connection to halakha. Simply feeling guilty because you're not being Jewish enough is not a fulfillment of obligation. Maria Strauss would like us to remember that worry is not a form of care. Damn. For non-halachic Jews, we can feel mechayev and fulfill those obligations with tangible actions, whether or not the law requires you to mark the new moon or comfort mourners or respect sex and intimacy. They are commitments that we have that we feel obligated to. And so we fulfill them with specific action. This requires understanding what and who we are obligated to, and then what the asks are tangibly. Another thing that Chabad knows is that obligation keeps us together. It's a shared project, an urgent project. It keeps us working together despite the fact that he was rude to your wife last breakfast or they screwed you over in a business deal this year. Without obligation, needing each other to do mitzvot, the group would fall apart. Structure is like medicine, especially in a chaotic world. So somehow, paradoxically, to cultivate accountability to one another, collective mentality, we have to resist individualism, but each of us feel deep ownership. Activist, anarchist, journalist, and Catholic Dorothy Day, Zichrona Livracha, said it clearly. Everybody wants a revolution, but no one wants to do the dishes. I'm gonna say it again, and maybe you'll join me. Everybody wants a revolution, but no one wants to do the dishes. Comrades, boy, have I lived in that collective. It's the Baobab on Brainerd Street in Allston, Massachusetts. Okay, everyone now shout out the name of your, dysfunctional collective living house. 1, 2, 3, go. Beautiful. The Baobab was a house full of revolutionaries whose rent was subsidized by our parents, thanks Mom and Dad, who did jail support and ran reading groups and hosted bird-themed fundraisers and lived cooperatively, and whose sink was full of dishes with vegan slop caked on them, waiting for someone to get to it, and fridges full of rotting food that was better the first time we dumpstered it and now was waiting for a woman to clean it out, because it was always a woman who cleaned it out. But we're all feminists. Everyone wants a revolution, but no one wants to do the dishes. Revolution, Mashiach, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to quibble. It happens in the small, quiet application of our highest values. Keeping your mouth shut when you are the only white person in the room. Try it. If you should be so lucky, try it. Keeping your mouth, not repeating what a woman just said because you're a man and you can't listen. Not needing credit for giving generously or footing the bill because you have a trust fund, but you never bring it up. Correcting someone on another person's pronouns, even if you feel uncomfortable. Taking out the trash. Asking, what can I do to help? Or even better, looking around and seeing with your eyeballs what needs to be done. Everyone wants a revolution. Everyone wants to see themselves on the barricades at the end of Les Mis, waving the flag. But who is taking care of the children off-site? Their little French selves. And trust me, I know who is saying this, right? Like, I am in a season where I am the girl who is waving the flag more often than she is doing bedtime. Thank you, Ever. They just laughed and said, it's true. And so I know it's rich to hear. The call to do the dishes is not meant to make it small, to not make the importance of what we're doing small or to shame us, although I am available if anyone needs me to come yell in your kitchen. It's an incredible gift. It's an amazing opportunity we have to take action. The world is devastating. It is crushing. It is disempowering. It is humiliating. It feels impossible to do anything to transform it, to unshut down a government, to protect our neighbors from kidnapping, to stop a genocide. But there is work of our hands we can do. Work of our hands for which we are immediately and acutely responsible. At the end of our Torah, Moshe reminds the people that they must follow the mitzvot and that when they do, they will be taken care of and successful. But the Israelites, like us, we come by it honestly, they try to get out of it. And Moshe says in Dvarim 30, 11 through 16, which notice we're in the same chapter as Rabbi Akiva was teaching from, time is mushing on itself. Moshe says, Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavecha hayom lo niflat hu mimecha velo rachakahu lo bashamayim hi lemor mi ya'aleh lanu hashamayma ve'echu lanu vayishma'enu oteh v'naseh. Surely this instruction which I enjoin upon you on this day is not too baffling for you, nor is it beyond reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who among us can go up to the heavens and get it for us and impart it that we may observe it? Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us that we may observe it? No, the thing is very close to you. It is in your mouth and is in your heart to observe it. See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. Our Jewish tradition understands the individual's action as crucial to the well-being of the collective, and that we have in each generation all the wisdom and all the information we need to be able to apply it. If we are going to be able to collectively survive this time, we need to take individual action that looks to our collectivity. The stakes are simply too high to believe the myth that we are in it alone. Which means we don't just have to care for each other, but we actually have to work together. Damn, chiyuv is hard. Bernice Johnson Reagan, composer, historian, activist, and song leader, said a version of the following at the West Coast Women's Music Festival, in 1981 in Yosemite National Forest. And she said these important words. She said, "Coalition work is not done in your home. Coalition work has to be done in the streets. And it is some of the most dangerous work you can do. And you shouldn't look for comfort. Some people will come to a coalition and they rate the success of the coalition on whether or not they feel good when they get there. They're not looking for a coalition. They are looking for a home. You don't get a lot of food in a coalition. You don't get fed a lot in a coalition. In a coalition, you have to give, and it is different from your home. You can't stay there all the time. You go to the coalition for a few hours, and then you go back and you take your bottle, whatever it is, and then you go back and you coalesce some more. This year, I want to call us to be chayav, to be obligated, and then therefore take small and consistent action to realize our values, to put them into practice, to not just express a value of solidarity, great job, good start, but to go to a meeting with an organization with a different theory of change than you have. What happens if you go and listen? Will you explode? Unlikely. Let us not say that we believe in collaboration and compromise, in diversity of perspectives and tactics and priorities, but only organize with people exactly like us. Let us not sit in our mutual disgust of one another. Let us do the work of going out into the world and being uncomfortable out of our home base to grow coalitions and movements where everyone gets what they need, even if they don't get everything they want. Among the many devastations and cruelties of our time, what a terrible opening. It has been a devastating time right now to figure out how to organize with the institutional Jewish community around issues like ICE resistance, when for the last 2 years, we have not spoken to each other except in sideways pointed op-eds about the Israeli genocide in Palestine. And yet my rage at my lawnsmen cannot get in the way of the need for our shared power to be poured into clogging up the cogs of the deportation machine. Both are true. So no, like Bernice Johnson Reagan, Zichrona Livracha, says, there is a real grief to be felt and honored when working in coalition and being away from home. We know how to grieve and keep moving. We're in a moment that calls us to be cynical, that asks us to lose hope and to think there is no change coming. A cynical relationship to Jewish life and practice is one that keeps our time and our holidays, but keeps it at arm's length, that doesn't feel it, that sees everything as a metaphor, as a practice to achieve an idea rather than the thing itself. Friends, we are not smarter than our ancestors. We are not, I'm going to shout it to our ancestors who are in the back of the room, we are not smarter than our ancestors. We just have more years of information. And this is something that's been core to me for a really long time because there is a cynicism embedded in contemporary movements of Judaism that would say, sure, that worked when we were in the shtetl, but life is different now and we've moved past it. And of course, there are things we must move past in our tradition, things that limit us from each other, that restrict who can access modes of devotion to God, who can access love in the world. But I want us to engage with the gift that is the boundaries of Jewish life and Jewish time, as it gives us what to push up against, that blesses us with the permission to have a container to play in. Far be it from us to disrespect the wisdom of our ancestors, to say it is no longer relevant or worth being in conversation with. I also am here to tell you that I think God wants our mitzvot. I think something changes for us when we keep mitzvot. I think that our prayer actually does something. And it's not just for our health. And it's not just that we don't feel guilty that we slept in from shul one day. Your prayer actually matters. Our keeping of Shabbos, yes, it does something for us individually, but it does something for the world too. To step out of the lies that we are told about the world and to step into a world of observance of its beauty and what exists without fighting for it. To all of you atheists in the room who just were like, never mind, goodbye, I think that there is still a way in to say that we access the truest, highest version of ourselves, and something changes when we do that. So when I say to you, as I am about to, that I think something would transform in our community at Hinenu and our neighborhood and our city and our world if everyone in this congregation lit Shabbat candles every week. I mean it. I know it sounds like I'm joking because of how my voice sounds, but I mean it. It's not just out of the sociological phenomenon of us being able to coordinate and prioritize the same things, because that is also very important, but because lighting Shabbos candles and bringing in Shabbos brings down the perfected world into this world. Please, God, we should each and together be sealed in the book of life for goodness for just another year. May this year be an opportunity to try again, to continue to take our values and put them into action, to not just express a desire for connection, but to reach out to someone and share a meal, not just express our values around decarceration, but have an accountable conversation and hard conversation with people who have caused us harm or who we have caused harm, to actualize our values of community by volunteering and putting in hours to sustain the things we care about. So how are we going to make this happen? So firstly, I want to challenge each of you to light Shabbos candles. Can we please get the Shabbos candles? I believe in the back, Mayoshi and Meitab are gonna come forward. Oh, they're over here. If a couple of people could volunteer, yes? So we're gonna hand out to you, you each get a set of Shabbos candles. And I'm gonna tell you that this week in Baltimore, candle lighting, but they're ready to volunteer and they get credit for that in the Book of Life. Candle lighting time this week, if you're lighting halachically, is at 6:27 p.m. on Friday. Okay. So you're receiving your Shabbat candles. I wanted to put them under your chair in like a reveal moment, but that didn't work. Step out of the restless world, as Dane Cutler calls it, and commit to the wisdom of Jewish time. If you are on Zoom, reach out to me after the holiday and I would love to send you some Shabbos candles. What if you lit candles every Friday this week? Light them 18 minutes before sundown. Light them when you finally finish your day's work and it's already pitch black outside, but you're done. The rest is finally settling over you. What if you lit candles every week? And if you already have a Shabbat practice that's built into your body and your week and how you structure your time, what else could it nurture? How could you invite one person that feels like a lot of work, whoever that person in your life is, invite them to Shabbos? I'm not joking. What if you did it? Now, the trick is going to be not doing it immediately so that people are like, oh, you think I'm work. That's why you're inviting me to Shabbos. But reaching out to new people and bringing them in, right? Even if Shabbos is already a part of your rhythm, what else can you do as our community is potentially, at least you have the party favor, committing to a practice of Shabbos? What else could you do to join in a Shabbos state of mind? How will you allow the wisdom of Jewish time to not be a metaphor that works upon you, but a truth that you know in your bones? I need you to treat this as seriously as the Chabad guys treat their Mashiach consciousness. I want each of us to develop a Mashiach consciousness. And that's why we're unaffiliated, because I would get kicked out of the RRA. I want each of us to develop a Mashiach consciousness that the liberated world is on its way. And it is our urgent action to do good in this world, to bring it down into this realm. If you don't feel chiyuv, obligated to the acts of bringing down this liberated world, during Musaf, I would invite you to ask yourself why. Sit with it. How are you going to make it your business? May our experience of being mechayev be one in which we experience Asada Shakur's sweat of love, the fierceness of love. May our experience of being mechayev, of being obligated, burn within us like her fire of truth, and the rhythm and the steadiness of a rigorous joy. May the sweat that falls on our work like salt on challah, like salt on the offerings of the altar, sanctify our lives and bring about a world of true peace in the year ahead. May you and all who you love and all that you love be sealed in the book of life for goodness and for peace in the year ahead. Amen. Can you hear it, son?